The metal handle scorched my palm. Noon heat, 104 degrees. The air didn't just weigh heavy. It smothered. I knocked once. A faint, muffled voice answered from inside. When the door opened, the heat rushed out like breath from an open oven. Her cheeks were flushed. Strands of hair plastered damply against her temples. Behind her, bare walls, a narrow cot, a broken fan, and a half-empty plastic water jug. The place smelled like sun-baked dust. "Why are you in here?" I asked. Her gaze dropped to her feet. They don't allow non-family members in the house. The house itself stood just 10 paces away, shaded, cool, its air conditioners humming faintly through the walls. Something in me went still. Not anger. Anger moves. This was a kind of stillness that sharpens. "Pack your things," I said. She hesitated. But when she finally stepped into the blinding sunlight beside me, I didn't look back. We weren't returning. The drive was silent. She kept twisting the hem of her shirt as if it might come apart in her hands. After 30 miles, she finally spoke. "They don't think I'm good enough for him." My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. "And he lets him treat you like this?" Her shoulders lifted and fell. "He says I overreact. Says it's just until they trust me." I didn't reply, because if I did, I'd have to admit what I was already certain of. They would never trust her. Not because of anything she'd done, but because they didn't want to. The shed, the rules, the fact she couldn't even step inside her husband's home without permission. This wasn't sudden cruelty. It had roots, and I was already tracing them. The first step was quiet. It always is. Phone calls to friends. Old wedding guests. Someone in the county clerk's office who owed me a favor. The pieces came together. Married less than 2 years. She'd never been added to the lease. Her name wasn't on a single utility bill. The no non-family rule wasn't tradition, it was control, designed to keep her excluded in every way that mattered. When I asked about his job, her eyes shifted away. Works with his cousin. They cover for each other. That told me enough. A direct approach would only vanish into their web of favors and denials. One night, while they were out, I went to the shed. The lock was flimsy. Inside, the air hung stale. The thin blanket was folded neatly, as if she tried to make the space look less pitiful than it was. A single shelf held her clothes, stacked so tightly it seemed like she was apologizing for existing there at all. I photographed everything. Every corner, every peeling blister in the paint. This wasn't neglect. It was deliberate erasure. The records came back in under a week. The house had been bought before their so-called marriage, listed under his parents' names. No prenuptial agreement, because no marriage license existed. They had staged a wedding. No legal document signed. She wasn't a wife, just an unprotected tenant. Easy to discard. When I told her, she went still. So it was all... Her voice was barely more than a breath. "They made sure you had nothing," I said. Her eyes didn't fill with tears. They just emptied. I didn't put my hand on her shoulder. Comfort wasn't what she needed. She needed this to end. The next afternoon, I stood at their door with the sun burning my back. He opened it wearing that rehearsed smirk. I handed him a thick envelope. Inside, photographs of the shed, copies of county records showing no legal marriage, and a detailed account of how they kept her outside the law. The smirk faltered. She agreed to. I cut him off. "If I hear her name from you or anyone in your family again, this goes to the sheriff, the local newspaper, and your church board." His jaw clenched. His mother lingered just inside, listening. "You think you can?" I stepped closer. "I already have." Then I turned and walked away. I didn't need to see the rest. 3 months later, she had her own apartment. The laughter had returned to her voice, lighter now, but with steel beneath it. He hadn't called. His family hadn't either. Silence, it seemed, was their specialty. I kept the photos of that shed, not to remember what they did, but to remember what I pulled her from. Rescue isn't always about storms or shouting. Sometimes it's about cutting off every escape they think they have and leaving them to face themselves. I didn't save her with love. I saved her with the truth.